I feel like the easy thing would be to teach people to freeze versions, but that's not super useful. Well, I mean, if you pull, it kind of is freezing, but sometimes there's security updates that are really helpful to get. Okay, this is a terrible example because they don't use patches. Okay, I can't use... Okay, how about Ubuntu? Do you use patches? You don't do patches either. Oh, yeah, here. 20. Okay, so 20 Ubuntu will work. So we have Ubuntu. We do Ubuntu latest. So let's say we do Ubuntu. Ubuntu 20. Okay, there's an Ubuntu 20.04. Okay. So 20.04 will be updated with 20, like every time that this patch gets updated. So is that the actual URL of it? That is. Okay. Wait, is that no, that's not right. Is it just the pull command again? I want to say that that's going to do it. Let's do I have any old ones? So I have okay, so here's this one that's 16 7 weeks ago. And we know, oh yeah, look at this. 16.0 was 3 months ago as far as my local system is concerned. But we know that this was 7 weeks ago. So I could do a Docker pull Postgres 16.0, and it basically re-downloads it, and now it's updated with whatever the most recent things are, and that's it. Like I can't really go back. So that is something to be aware of. And I've actually run into this problem before where a tag to an older version got updated and broke everything for me, and it sucked. It was terrible because like once you do this, like Docker Hub, they overwrote that tag. So it's done. Payupal, hello. How are you doing today? So yeah, it can be good to be aware of like should you download this or not. So I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so there isn't a way to revert back to previous versions of image after you update them. They can provide security updates, but also can break your environment. You'll need to determine when the right time to update your images are. The general rule of thumb is to keep your local version of images up to date with whatever you have in production. So if you're using something like ECS, that may or may not be locking the version and like updating for you, depending upon how you've set it up. So the way I've set up with Hasura is it's auto updating, so I can get the security updates automatically. But it may not, that may be a terrible idea depending upon your situation. Didn't you remix? I'm also making a wish list to learn Rust. Can you add an approach to restrict access to the system to authorize users like RBAC or similar in Axum? Oh, like you mean just like authentication, right? So yeah, I can add that for in the course. So probably what we want is like role-based authentication. It's already been an hour? Wow. Twitch just told me that pre-roll ads are now on for you all. Whoa, it's 1:47 already. Wow, that time has been flying. So I can add that in there. Let's see. Is it a plugin in Vim that's tracking the new lines and word wraps? No, this is, so first of all, this is Helix. And what I've done is I've turned on a Helix to show the special characters, which is something that's been helping me out a lot. Like, I don't know if it's like dyslexia that's like helps me out with that or just something else in my brain, but it's nice for me. I know that for some people it annoys them. So yeah, it's Helix and then just a configuration option. What does Hasura updating entail? Do they update the container in place, or is it a fresh instance on an updated version of the instance? Yeah, so when it gets rebuilt, they will repull the image using whatever tag I've set up from Docker Hub. So basically, that's what's happening there. I guess one thing, and we're going to get to it in the course when we start like doing development type stuff. Inside of each Docker container, you want to consider that it's replaceable at any moment. Why is it saying that I have a paid promotion? I don't have a paid promotion for this. Did I accidentally leave that checked? I did. Sorry about that. I'm not selling stuff. This is free. Let me look. What does that say? Let viewers know if your branded content includes paid product placement, endorsement, or other commercial relationships. Yeah, that's just my stuff. Okay. Let's see. Think of each Docker container as something that you want to like be able to completely remove. And so therefore, either a Docker container contains data or it contains like code or something. It's basically one purpose, almost like functional programming on a more architectural level. It does one thing and it does only that one thing. So because of that, your Docker container that, like my Docker container that contains Hasura, doesn't contain the database also. It's like a single container that just contains Hasura and that's it. Now it connects to a database outside of it, and that database never shuts down. I could have a database running in a container as well if I really wanted to. And then I could have like maybe a volume container that holds the data for the database. All of those things like could be together in one ecosystem that then that then sort of like work around. So you would basically have one of the data, the volume container would never restart, and that would always have the data. The database and then the Hasura would basically be allowed to reboot and refresh and update constantly because it won't affect each other. They can be rebooted independently, all that good stuff. At work, we use AWS ECR and only use the hardened images for any deployment these days, which is a really good idea. That's what I do for my work. That's like another company that I work for. That's what we do. We have an ECR image. So ECR entity container repository, which think of it as like Docker Hub, except it's AWS. And they charge something like a penny or so per month per repo that you like image that you put into it. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it allows you to lock images to that. So you're pulling from there instead of from Docker Hub. For my personal stuff that I'm running the LMS on, I'm more okay / gonna work, just let Hasura update and lock it to a tag because I trust that works so far, and everything has been fine so far. But if the LMS suddenly crashes and goes bad, I'm gonna have to like fix that, and it's gonna suck. But it's also cheaper because ECR, along with everything else, nickels and dimes you with every time you hit it. You keep on getting the impression that I should be learning how to prepare a version of your software using Alpine Linux. But you just pull the Rust nightly image. There's a couple different things that you might want to like consider. For example, you might not want to actually run in execute your code on production in a Rust image. You might just want to use your own image to create something that has the libraries, and then just put the binary in there and execute that, as opposed to compiling it and running it using like Cargo Run or something like that. Okay, so let's see. There's a way to revert back to previous versions of an image. How? Let's see. We've already how long have we been streaming today? We've been streaming for 5 hours. I did a lot better than yesterday. We only got 4.5 hours yesterday before we got mentally exhausted and couldn't continue. But I guess coding is harder than writing courses. So that's the thing. I think we can go another hour before I get too tired with this. So let's do one more break, and we'll do one more hour, and then we'll probably bring it to the end the next time that Twitch tells me the pre-rolls are back on. So one more quick break. I'm gonna run the 3-minute ad, so who knows if you get them. And I will be back in a few minutes, and we'll continue making courses. We've been making good progress. I will see you in a few minutes. And then I will leave you with where this is, which is they're not happy. All right, that ball is bouncing way too much. There's no way I can hit it. Okay, so that's updating. Let's head back to the README. Okay, so create, then we have delete a Docker image. Okay, so that's CRUD. Now images, and then we have containers. So we have create a container, which we've already done. we want to list all containers. Hmm. I don't know if I... Containers that are running instances of Docker images. Okay, so in each container will hold its own state, independent of the Mero, hello. How are you doing today? The work is going good. We've been making really good progress. We're creating a course on Docker, Docker for developers, for web developers, essentially. And we are making... One, two, three, four, five, six articles so far today. Previously, the way I was doing this, we could only get through like one article a day, and it would take us like months to get like a simple course like this done. Now it's gonna be only weeks. I mean, it might still be a month or two because I'm doing one day a week of doing this, but instead of like we've already gotten through more than 5. So that would have essentially been an entire week. Previously, like last week, essentially. Yeah, so it's pretty good. How are you doing today? What am I doing? Oh, right. We're going to do... So then we're creating 2 Dockers from the same image. Are you going to address Docker Dev without Docker Desktop? Now that Docker Desktop is sometimes a licensed thing that you have to pay for. So not really, because Docker Dev, so on a Windows system and on a Mac, you need to have Docker Desktop. You just can't get around it because they need to install the VM behind the scenes that you just won't get otherwise. Like there's no getting around that. On Linux, however, you could just install the engine by itself and then you're fine. And so I do have in the installation instructions, I link to those. Rancher Desktop or Podman Desktop are replacements. I'm probably not going to, because if they screw up or mess up, then I'm going to be on the hook for supporting that. And I kind of don't want to do that. I would much rather be able to say, hey, go yell at Docker. It's their system. Yeah, it is really only applicable to large companies. Like all the companies that I've ever worked at would never have had to pay. And then even then it was like 10, let me see. I'm actually curious. Have they changed it? Last time I looked at it, it was like really cheap. Where is the license? Of course they don't. I don't think they have it in Docker Desktop. Okay. Yeah, so for personal, it's always 0. And like there's like this is really a lot. Let's see, pro is, I mean, that's not like you really never need this. There was something about when you need to use it. What were they thinking? Okay, is that dark mode? Okay, that's dark mode is causing it to be bad. That's not their fault. I forget where the license information is. They make it like super hard to find, and it's really kind of stupid. Where is... Is it under getting started? I mean, they make this so hard to find. Oh, is it hidden by the dark color scheme? Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna flash you all. Where is it? On the plans page. Okay, here it is. Commercial use of Docker Desktop at a company of more than 250 employees or more than 10 million in annual revenue requires a paid subscription. So I would argue that, first of all, if you have 250 employees and you cannot afford $25 per dev per month, you're doing it wrong. You shouldn't have 250 employees if you cannot afford that. That means you've scaled up the business way too fast. And if you're also making $10 million in annual revenue, and again, you cannot afford this, why? That's a problem. This is probably the cheapest, like no-brain expense that a company can possibly have. And if it keeps the lights on for Docker, like essentially all they're doing is paying for people who don't pay for it, which is the rest of us. So I have zero problem with this whatsoever. And I remember when they came out with this payment plan, there was like a huge, like everybody was like, oh my gosh, I'm switching away from Docker. How dare they charge us money? It's like, are you worried? Like, are you that upset about having to pay for this once you get to that point? It doesn't make any sense to me. That's why you should have written your code base in Rust, not Python. I don't think that's what's causing you to pay for that much extra money. So yeah, it's a thing. Like I brought it up with my my boss, and he was like, "Dude, that's all? Who cares?" So yeah, I don't think it's that big of a problem. There's some really crypto rich ass poor folks in some corners of the internet and San Francisco. Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of funny if, I guess, like if they had a crypto version where you can buy for crypto, maybe that would work. But anyways, like right now, the only reason why somebody like who is concerned about it would be like you're having to do like more than 5,000 image pulls per day. That's a lot. Basically, they're just saying, okay, if you're going to abuse our servers, please pay us to abuse our servers, which would be $60 a year. That's not bad. I think your rationale is solid unless you plan to market to Fortune 500 plus. Are they that cheap? I've never sold / worked for a Fortune 500 company. Honestly, I could see a nation state wanting to just not work with US tech. Yeah, absolutely. Like those are all reasons for not using Docker, right? Like those are all good reasons for not using Docker. To be cheap, just to save a couple bucks in money is not worth it. Like, I think that I think it's very fine to say like we're not going to use Docker. The money is probably not one of those reasons. All right, let's turn that back on. Oh, you know what? They had this here, and I was completely not even reading it. It was right in front of me the entire time, and I could actually see that. You want to hear a story? Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I can give you a reason why. It's not a good reason, but there's reasons why companies tend to like shy away from like paying for these type of things, and it generally comes from non-technical leadership at companies. So like CEOs who are coming from marketing or sales, generally speaking. That's where we're going to run into these type of issues. And oftentimes those specific companies, those specific people have been taught that IT is a cost center. Accounting is another place. Yes. So CFO, like finance, marketing, and sales. So oftentimes they're taught that IT, all of IT, which includes engineering, is a cost center. And a cost center, in case you don't know, is a business term for a part of the business that you have to have that costs you money and doesn't provide new money in. it's good to know where the cost centers are. So for example, the generally speaking, systems administration is a cost center because you have to keep your servers running, but if they crash, you're going to start losing money. But by itself, your customers don't want to pay you for the systems administration. They want to pay you for the product. Therefore, it's a cost center. You tend to think of it as savings generator, but yeah, well, there are other ways to sort of think about it. Like, it can still be part of a value stream, but be like a cost center within the value stream. Now, this comes back from Harvard Business Review in like the early 2000s. There was this like big article where somebody famous or something wrote like your IT is a cost center. And it got shared everywhere. It was super popular. And like all the MBAs talk about like, oh yeah, like, you know, IT is a cost center. Be careful with it, because think about what IT was back then. It was like the emails, it was your website, it was things like that. Now, the problem is that software is, especially for most companies, software is the product and software is in IT. And when your product is in IT and you consider IT to be a cost center, then, well, where's the profit centers? A lot of CEOs who are non-technical they don't really understand what's going on with the product, and they forget. They look at accounting and they say, ooh, look, all the money is coming in from sales. All the marketing is coming in. Well, why do we get sales? Because of marketing, because of like the advertisements we do. And so they reverse it around, and we get sales and marketing are profit centers in their mind, and IT is a cost center. And so what do you do with a cost center? You try to reduce the amount of money you're spending on it as much as possible. And then you increase the amount of money you're investing into your profit center, and then you're going to get more profit out of that. As you can see, this can be really, really dangerous. And it's one of the reasons why it's super important to have a diverse C-suite, because you need to have somebody from every single part of the organization involved in the decisions. And what I've noticed is that having a CTO as the only representation for technical side is not enough, because they don't listen to the CTO. If you're a CTO, I hear you. I'm sorry. They don't listen to you. And I know that. Now, if your COO, if your CPO, if your CEO are all technical, CSOs don't count. Sorry, security officers. You're usually also technical, and they also don't listen to you. If they're technical, they'll be listened to. So getting the CEO on board to like actually understand how the business really operates is like essential. You also don't want your CTO, CIO to be C-suite in name only. Well, yeah, there's a whole bunch of other stuff we can probably talk about. You feel like watching a stream is therapeutic because we don't have a culture of listening to technical folks at previous. There's a book called A Seat at the Table, which is written for CTOs by CTOs, talking about how to get the rest of the C-suite to listen to you, to like let you have a seat at the table. Because I've worked with CTOs where like they tell me like, yeah, they just had a big meeting about like the direction to go, and they forgot to invite me because like I'm just the technical guy. They're just going to tell me what's going to go on. And your CTO is going to be, they're feeling the exact same things that you're feeling. A CISO. Oh, geez, what is a CISO? Definition? Chief Information Security Officer. Yep, doesn't count. The Information Security Officer is going to be ignored too. In fact, probably more than the CTO. Oh, you didn't catch the whole book name? Here, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. A seat at... Okay, that was interesting. A seat at the table. This is I have not read it, but my boss, who was the CTO, read it and has good things to say about it. Also, if you're a CIO, it's the same as a CTO. Like anything with information technology or whatever, doesn't really matter. Who will think of the poor tech CTOs? The brave man will. So here's a fun fact. CTOs are the most fired C-suite member. It's just an unfortunate fact of not being listened to. In it, like when you're not listened to and they're not bringing you into the meetings, when things go wrong, who do you fire? The person you're not listening to anyways. The board of directors for most companies don't really run things the way that I think a lot of people think that they do. They hold the CEO accountable, yes, but the CEO generally can like run stuff. The CEO is powerful in the fact that they're supposed to be running a team and managing the C-suite of people, and so they set the culture. And if they don't set a good culture, then it's over. Like there's nothing that you can do in the rest of the business. Like one of my specialties is to go into a business and fix up. And it's like I started by making the team really good, and I can do that. Then I did it like the entire department, and I can do that. I've done it before. What I've learned is that if you don't have an ally in the CEO trying to make everything better from the top down and from like the middle out, it doesn't matter. It's going to end in pain and suffering, and usually the end of the company. It's just an unfortunate truth. Gordon Ramsay style. I do not yell at people. I'm much nicer when I do stuff. However, I am like pretty solid on like, no, we're doing it this way. Like I remember I was talking to one person and they're like, okay, we're implementing agile, we're doing this type of stuff, and they're like, oh, like safe. And I'm like, no, we're not. Well, safe isn't like, I don't care. Well, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing safe. So no idiot sandwiches. The biggest thing, and this is all part of like leadership, and I'd be like, I want to do a course on leadership sometime, especially technical leadership, because a lot of people get promoted to management by being good at programming and have no clue what they're doing. And it's a lot of people want to not be a manager because all they know are terrible managers, and they think that that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you have to do. And it's not true. You can be an amazing manager and not be a total jerk or asshole or anything else like that. There are ways to do it. And it all comes down to management and practice. Programmers don't really like to maneuver for leadership positions, it seems. I think that they don't like to because so many managers are bad at it that they're like, it's just sort of like feeling that you're turning into a bad person. You become a villain when you become management, because that's what management does, especially in like, well, I wouldn't say especially, all throughout the companies. Most people are made managers with zero training. Yes, exactly. There is something called promotion to your, what is it called? You're promoted to your level of failure or something like that, which is, oh, you're good at your job, you're promoted. You're good at your job, you're promoted. You're good at your job, you're promoted. Oh, you're terrible at your job, okay, you stay here. We don't train you. You're now just stuck there in a terrible in a terrible position where you're terrible at it. You know you're terrible at it, and that's it. That's your life now. That's the Dilbert guy, though. That's also what happens in real life. I've seen it so many times. It really sucks. And I hated the idea of management too, until I worked with an amazing manager, and it was like, oh, this is what it is. And then I worked for another company. I'm like, oh no, there's so few good managers out here. So promoted to your level of incompetence. Thank you, Radcliffe Prime. Also hello. That's what it's called. Promoted to your level of incompetence. Yeah, so I worked for a really great manager. Eventually we all left that company. We worked for different companies, and I'm like, well, shoot. I guess if I want to work in a team that's created by a really good manager, I guess I'm going to have to do this myself. Because, like, if you wait to find a good manager right now, you're not going to find it. So somebody has to step up and do it good. So that's what I ended up doing. The Peter Principle states that if you perform well in your job, you will likely be promoted to the next level of your organization's hierarchy. You will continue to rise up the ladder until you reach the point where you can no longer perform well. Yes, exactly. And so many companies don't understand this, which is so... It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But that's a leadership type stuff, and management is actually now become a passion of mine. So I love talking about it. Well, that's a different thing. Blah. You'll be asked to work for the point of your skill. Bad managers tend to do that because they think they're getting more out of you by doing that, and that's actually not true. They're going to get less out of you, but they're going to feel like they're getting more, and so like their brain rewards them with dopamine when they do it, and so therefore they think that they're supposed to continue that. And again, like that would be part of like a management leadership course I could create, is like how to actually like run a high performance team without burning everybody out and making everybody hate you, because like that's the thing. Yeah, you've been asked by college students how to cope with that dynamic. If you're an employee in that situation, it really sucks. Like you have to learn how to lead from behind and like basically do something we call manage up, where you manage your manager. And that takes a lot of communication skills. It takes a lot of safety, like psychological safety. There's a lot of things that require that you need to have in place in order to do that. And one of them is security in your own situation. And I got stumped because they're really convinced that management isn't that bad. Well, if you're seeing somebody in that situation, try to always have a lot of compassion for somebody, because remember, here's a statement that one of my mentors like to say, which I think like helps explain this. Management is hard, ergo Most managers are terrible at their jobs, and that's okay. I mean, it's not okay as in we shouldn't accept it, but it's okay as in if they think that their manager is good, it's because they've never had a good manager. So telling somebody that like, oh, this is what's supposed to happen is like literally not even imaginable by them. Like, I can tell you all the cool stuff that I do with my teams to get them high performing. If none of you have experienced that, you're going to just think that I'm on like, I'm on the crazy pills and I'm just screaming about some random states, or like I'm one of those influencers that go and like talk at a conference and charge like $10,000 a seat, but like it's not reality that I'm talking about. The thing is that I've seen it. I've actually done it, but I've only like influenced, certain teams. It's like only those people know about it. Thousands and thousands of you will never have seen that, which is infuriating to me, which is why we need to do better. It's really hard to manage up when you're underpaid and overworked. Yes, absolutely. It is super, super hard to do that. You need to be safe and secure. And there's an entire psychological stuff behind like of why you need to be safe and secure, because your own body and brain will remind you that a confrontation, which managing up is confrontation, will potentially result in you losing your job. Even if it's not true, even if you know that you won't lose your job, your body won't know that. Your brain won't know that. And so therefore you need to like be able to remind you like, oh, I'll be fine. I have 3 months. I have 6 months of savings. If I get fired from this, I'm perfectly fine. If you don't have that, you can't manage up. Not really. You have to work on your own Maslow's hierarchy of needs first. This is why Toyota makes better cars. There's an entire series of like people talking about why Toyota is so good at that. They literally wrote several books on how to build management teams and leadership teams across the entire company for it. It's not just the Kanban. It's also what the Kanban enables within their system. The Toyota Production System, TPS. The social safety net aspect, yes. There's so many things. I'm actually recording a podcast recently with my ex-boss, the CTO that I was mentioning, and he we're eventually going to release that, and there's going to be a lot of leadership type stuff in it. So I eventually want to like start being able to record those maybe on a stream or something, because I think it'll be super fun to like even do like live commentary or chats, or like even take questions from people about like leadership stuff. All right. What are we doing? Okay, we're going to create two containers from the same image. So let's do this. I do feel myself getting a little bit tired, so I think that this will be the last half hour. Okay, so I want to do okay, so we're gonna do Docker run IT again, drop into here, and I want to do I have VI? I don't even have VI. Okay, do wait, did I just lose this? I kind of. Oh. Okay, and then If I exit, so that exists there, and I want to do a